All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Locker. Today I've got Alimamy Bader. He's an electrical engineer graduate from the University of Buffalo. He currently serves on the board of Edunations, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to rebuilding the nation of Sierra Leone. He was born a Sierra Leonean and was brought to the U.S. at the age of 8. His unique life experience has enabled him to bring awareness to the impact of comprehensive education on developing nations. So, Alimamy, thank you so much for being here today. He is also, I should mention, my brother. So thank you for coming on the show and making the
Oh
time.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm excited.
I appreciate it. So for people who might not know you or know some of your story, because I know you've spoken about this to, at smaller events and stuff, explaining your story and how you came over and what it was like. But what do you remember thinking of the United States before you came over? I'm talking when you were back in Sierra Leone, in the orphanage, what was your picture of what America was like?
Wow, a lot. But I think to keep it short, before coming to the States, one of the I think stories that stood out or image for the U.S. was that this was the land of the free, and that coming to the States, everything is free. And of course, I found out that was not the case. So I think my understanding of the land of the free was a little different than what it turned out to be. But for sure, definitely, I think coming here and seeing that things are not so free in terms of like materialistic stuff. But mainly in regards to the freedom to be able to have freedom of speech, just be able to do things within normal, I guess. Carrying out normal stuff in
Yeah,
society and
absolutely.
stuff. So,
And when you began the process of actually being adopted into the United States, what was one of the first things that you remember kind of breaking all of your expectations, being like, okay, maybe America isn't like what I thought. Can you remember what that was like maybe one of those situations where you realized, okay, this isn't going to be necessarily what everybody told me it was going to be?
yeah, I think one of the vivid, memories that I remember having was I think it was actually with you, and we were at Walmart at one point, and it was with mom and everybody. We were just there, shopping, and this was the first time, actually being at a superstore with all of the toys, all lined up nicely stacked and everything. And here I was at Walmart for the first time, thinking, hey, we're in the line of the free and everything, and so I grabbed my own cart. There I was, just starting to take off all the toys off the, shelves and put it in the cart. And then I even had one of the Walmart assistant nearby. I'm like, ma'am, can you help me load this into my car? And she's looking at me like, well, you got to first pay for this. And I just remember it going through my mind. I'm like, wow, so much for this, being the land of the free. And so that was, I think, the first time experiencing that that part of
I do remember this
freedom.
story. Yeah, I think I've told that story many times.
Yeah.
that's
So.
a classic. And so for people who might not be familiar with the process of adoption, it's not as simple as saying, hey, we'd like to take these kids, and then a month later they come. It's kind of a long drawn out process. But when you finally got to take that flight over to America, what do you remember thinking and feeling on that flight? Was it more excited for the future? Were you sad to be leaving? What was going through your mind?
She's a lot, a lot. I think part of it was just being able to, experience a new life that was so much different than what I was used to. So coming here, I wasn't really sure what I was going to face, and so there was that, fear of the unknown, so to say. And so there was a lot of that going through my mind at a young age. And keep in mind, as you stated in your introduction, I was 8 years of age, and so if anything, I remember a lot of my earlier past life, and so there were still some roots on there that I was thinking, I might have to let go of some of this stuff here that's happening, and it's certainly came up a few times where I decided to move forward. But I think I was somewhat very, very excited considering that, being the first time, riding a helicopter and, being on a plane and all that. And I've always had a knack of curiosity of like how things worked, why they work in the manner that they worked. And so seeing a TV for the first time, I was blown away, and, seeing a light switch, flickering it off and on. And so that was really
I do
exciting.
remember that. Yeah. You guys getting home from the airport, you had a lot of fun with the light switches.
Yes. And so even to this day, I still do it.
All right. And so when you say that you were kind of curious as an 8-year-old to come over to the US, that it, there was this part of you that was excited for getting to see what was on the other side, see what this all led to. But what surprised you when you finally came to the US?
Oh gosh. A lot of things.
And I'm talking, it could be at the airport, it could be in the week afterwards, the month afterwards. What kind of caught you off guard about actually arriving in the US?
Oh my gosh, there was a lot of things. I think the first one though was coming home that night. Stepped out of the car, and as I was stepping out of the car, I saw this white stuff everywhere, and so I had never seen snow before. So this was the first time seeing snow, and I was like, oh my gosh, this was not the America I was thinking of. And so we came in December of 2003, and so there was snow everywhere, and I was not a fan of it. And so especially the cold. And so, being taken out of, West Africa, where the temperatures are like, 80, 90 degrees and even higher. We don't really have winters there aside from rainy season and dry season. And so coming here, seeing snow everywhere for the first time, I was very shocked. And even to this day, 16, 17 years later, I'm still trying to get used to the, use of snow. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Just to add on to that, I mean, for anyone who might not be aware, where Alimamy came from, they literally didn't have a word for cold when they came over.
Exactly.
There was no there was no descriptor in Alimamy's mind for what was going on. It was just like
and I had to learn the cold hard way. So
you got adopted by some people in Buffalo, so you got screwed on that one.
Yeah.
And how did your thoughts about Sierra Leone as a country and your home, how did that change once you actually left?
I think like living in Sierra Leone at the moment, at the time that I was there, I figured, this was life. This is the only thing that I've ever known. And so coming here to the States, living a life that was drastically so much different than the one that I used to live, I realized, wow, the state at which the country was in is, beyond belief, even in our modern time. And, for just finding out that, I was living in a third world country where there was no, running water, there was no electricity, just the everyday simple stuff that we here in America take for granted. And so, looking back and seeing that was a big, big change, and just realizing, wow, the life that I used to live is not something that Westerners here, I don't think, could ever be able to live, in terms of understanding the everyday life of being able to realize, today I'm only going to have one meal. I don't know where tomorrow's meal is going to come from, but I know I'm here to live for today. And so here, living in America, you always somewhat, quote unquote, are always expecting, hey, we're going to have lunch, dinner, and breakfast. And tomorrow it's going to be the same thing. And so definitely a learning big experience to look back on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's hard for us as Americans to envision what not having certain things is like, just because we're so used to having things like, the water running and electricity. And we might get a taste of that from time to time when, like, natural disasters come around or whatever, but it's usually for a very short period of time, and you can always find a way around it. But for you, what led you to saying, okay, not just, okay, I got out of this situation. I thankfully, I don't have to grow up in Sierra Leone. What made you turn around and say, you know what, I need to do something about this. I need to get involved.
Yeah, I think even back in 2004, a year after coming here, there was a group of fathers, that essentially, came together and formed Edunations. And so at that time, I was very much aware of, the development of the organization at that time. And so for me, just looking back, I was always wondering, like, in what ways can I give back? Can I help? Because I have a heart, for Sierra Leone. I was born and raised there. I will always have a longing to help out in whatever way or form that it may come about. And so one of the ways that I've always wanted to go back and help was just being able to use my skills, whatever that may be, in helping the next generation, come up, because there's no the future of the country is based off of the younger minds, and those are the people, those are the individuals that are going to steer the future of the nation. And so one of the ways that I've always, envisioned in helping out the country and the nation was just being able to be an influencer in the minds of young individuals, and that involves, being a part of Edunations in their education system and all that. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. And for the organization itself, because people might not be aware of what Edunations does,
Mm-hmm.
can you give us a quick description of the work that Edunations carries out, just in a very broad sense?
Sure. So as I pointed out, 2014, a group of fathers, just regular everyday American, dads that adopted from West Africa, Sierra Leone, just came together and decided, hey, we may not be able to adopt every single kid from Sierra Leone, but we're able to come together and we can provide education, free of charge, to all of the students that attend, Edunations schools. And so these group of fathers came together, created Edunations, and what they did in their effort, they essentially built schools, and they provided free education for any of the students that attended the schools. And we also provide meals for the students, along with all of the materials that they need, whether it be pens, pencils, sharpeners, erasers, notebooks, everything. And so with that, that is somewhat the core work of Edunations in providing, effective education, and education that actually surpasses the current, public schools in the nation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the initiative and effort that Edunations has been doing the past 16 years. And that covers all the way from kindergarten all the way now up to high school. And so we have a senior high school that we just actually recently, just in the process of building. We're hoping to get that up and running for the end of 2020, school year, to get that rolling.
That's amazing. And for anyone who maybe hasn't heard of Edunations before, hasn't visited the website, I'll be providing all of the links to their social media in the description of the video. But I know that you guys also do work in the surrounding community as well. So you're not just providing a means of education, but you're actually trying to elevate, local businesses, local communities. And so what steps are you taking in that regard?
Yeah, so we have a series of programs or projects within the community of, the schools or rather the areas that we're involved in. We have a microfinancing project and program where, we come in and we provide, funds for the local community just to help generate the economy within that, location. So we provide funds, and we, of course, don't give it out for free. We put a little bit of interest so that we can just have them have a motivation to want to pay it back to a certain degree. And so we have that. We also have a poultry, project or program where we're trying to help the existing community in whatever agriculture that they may have, whether it be like, raising chickens, meats of whatever kind that you can domestically raise and stuff. And so we do that. And then instead of, I guess outsourcing it, not that we're able to at this point, but,
Yeah.
we just take those produce and we, sell it, we put it back into the community. And so those funds and produce, stuff that's generated from there is used to start other projects as well. And then we also have a community garden. We do farming there as well too. So we have, palm tree oil and stuff. That's a big thing in Sierra Leone is the palm tree oil. We have pineapple that we're growing in some of our gardens as well. And so all of that is collected and sold to the local market and put back into the local system in the surrounding area. And so those are just like some of the steps and or also programs that we have in place in the communities that we're a part of.
That's awesome. And I do want to come back around to Edunations towards the end of our time together, but I wanted to pivot a little bit and talk about your educational experience and work experience and what led you basically to the point where you are now, where you were working for Edunations and you have your engineering degree. So what sparked your interest in an electrical engineering? And what made you so certain? Because I know for a long time, being your brother, you studied very hard. I remember you were definitely a very good student. So what made you that entire time? Because I know for years and years you're very dedicated to your education. What pushed you to being an excellent student in the U.S., where you weren't even born here? This isn't your native language. It isn't your initial home. You didn't have a lot of the advantages that other people did. So how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I guess steered me towards my career path that I'm on currently, as I pointed out, is I've always had a knack and an interest of wondering how things work and in the manner in which they worked and stuff. And so, all of us being homeschooled and stuff. So I got a lot of quote unquote firsthand experience in, our, homeschool projects that we did at home. But in regards to, the point that I am right now with career and education, that drive in always wondering, why things work in the way that they work. And even that was evidential in the first time when we came into the house. I saw a light switch. I'm like, wow, I've never seen a light before. I don't know how it works, but there's this thing called a switch. You turn it on and it goes on, and you turn it off, it goes back off. And so I was just, the story. So, so that was a part of, what led me down my career path. And then also too, knowing that coming here to the States, I got a taste of a life that was a little different than what I've been, living in. So the motivation and the passion to, want to, do well in my studies was also attributed to the idea of being able to go back to Sierra Leone and helping out and impacting, my people, so to say, in whatever capacity that might be. And so, doing engineering, that was something that I was already, I guess, interested in the sense that, I've always wanted and wondered why electronics worked in the manner that they did. And so that was a motivator to be able to go into a field that I think would be, helpful and effective to the people of Sierra Leone. And so that has always helped me go down that path. And of course, too, Mom is a huge motivator as well. I give her all kudos in being able to homeschool all 5 of us. I don't know how she did it, but she did it.
Yeah, she had a few rough years there.
Yeah, and so that was a big also a motivator. She pushed me and she pushed all of us, more so me than maybe the rest of us, because
she realized you had potential.
No, not that. It was more like, well, I was the not the greatest student. So, but anyway, she was a huge motivator in being able just to move forward in seeing that all of the work that she was able to put in not only teaching me the fundamentals of math, science, history, and all the basics, just English alone. Even today, I struggle with it. And so that's a huge motivator as well, just to see the effort and work that she's put in, to not move forward and carry that out. It's just, a waste of all the work that she's done. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think this is a good point to ask you about someone outside of, our immediate family who's really helped you, you think, in accomplishing your goals with, maybe your engineering degree, your career, or Edunations. It could be any of those things, but someone you feel has had an enormous impact on your life and pushed you to accomplish these things.
Um, let's see, there's a lot of them, but the one person that comes to mind is a high school teacher at Career Harkness Center. So Harkness, for those of you who don't know, it's a, early career kind of program here in New York. And so essentially it's a high school program that's tailored such that, high school students can go and somewhat, get a firsthand experience of whatever career that is that they're seeking after, whether it be like mechanical, electrical engineering, cosmetology, you name it. So I first got plugged into Harkness, and my Harkness career teacher, he was the one that kind of, helped push me, especially outside of, school, going into the public system, because I know at one point my parents, as you know, Donovan, were only able to homeschool us up to the point of high school. And so he was a huge motivator to be able to just, foster my curiosity, because at the time there I was also interested in just, architecture, stuff like that, and mechanical engineering as well. And so, we did a lot of programming in that class. And so it was neat to have him just be an encouragement to go after whatever it is that I'm, going after.
That's awesome, because I know that a lot of times your family telling you things is kind of, you're almost used to it by default, like, oh, they're my family,
Yeah.
But having someone outside of that immediate circle kind of lift you up and encourage you and tell you that you're capable of accomplishing something is really important. But I actually like that you turned us back towards your educational path, because I'm curious what your identity was built around in, high school and college, because I mean, you're obviously, you were adopted by our family, so you don't look necessarily the same as the rest of us. So how did that impact the way that you perceive yourself and the way that you thought other people perceived you? So what was that like?
Geez. I think, coming here, obviously I knew like, we were different. And when I say we also have, I used to that came. So of course, being adopted into a white family and stuff, and us being Black, that was very different. And we saw the quote unquote, I guess, the impact of that. But I think for me, I didn't really focus too much on that. I decided that, okay, that's how things are. And that was just something that was out of my control. So, moving forward from that point, I think it was just a motivator for me somewhat to, do well in school and education, because I've been given an opportunity to excel in a country that most of my, fellow, brothers and sisters in Sierra Leone would love to be in. And
Yeah.
so for me, just to put that to waste would be, I don't know. It didn't jive well with me. And so that was, a motivating aspect to want to move forward in that sense. But yeah.
So I understand. I'm hearing you say that you wanted to do better for the people who couldn't come over.
Right.
But how did you see yourself in the U.S.? How did you construct your identity as a person? Like, did you embrace the fact that you were adopted? Did you because people ask questions, they ask questions of me all the time. Like, I got jokes all the time because my brother was a different color from me. And to me, I never thought anything different, because as you said, mom and dad and our family gave us no reason to think that any of us were any different, like, we're all family. That's pretty much how it was. but other people don't necessarily see it that way. So
Yeah.
how did you feel the response was from other people, whether that was in high school, in college? What was that like?
I think especially in high school, going through, it was still a cultural shock, still learning the culture of the, America and stuff. And so to me, I didn't really think much about it, but how I felt, was just, I guess, quote unquote, normal, in a sense that, yeah, you guys, we were different in terms of outward, view and stuff. You're white, I'm black. Yes, that's noticeable. But for me, it was just the day-to-day family experience, because seeing the love that I got from the family and all that, I think that's what made the difference, because coming to the States, I had never felt what it felt like to be, loved and all that. So from the perspective of other people, how would I put it? I don't think they fully understand, I guess, the position that I was in regards to being able to experience love for the first time, being adopted. And so for me, I never really, I guess, got in their mindset of like wondering, like, I wonder how he felt.
Yeah.
And so that was my take on it.
So for you, it was a matter of, hey, I have this great life now. I'm not,
yes.
I'm not too worried about whatever else you guys are saying over there. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
That's actually a really, I think that's a very admirable trait to have. I think that's a very good way to perceive things, because there's also, I think a lot of people would argue that you have the right to complain, if you're in that situation where you're faced with being very different from the people around you. But the fact that you're so positive about it, and the fact that you were, that's a testament, I guess, to the household you were raised in, that they didn't make you feel as though you were different, and make you feel loved.
For sure.
Now I want to take it in a little bit more of a fun direction and ask you a few fun questions. So take your time. You can answer in your own time. Think about it for a second. But I'd like to know 3 of your favorite artists of all time. They can be living or dead. Can be any time period.
Artists in terms of like music, or
artists in terms of music. Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I listen to a lot of rap. So Lynn.
Okay.
That's one of them. Lecrae is also up there. And I would even say Flame as well too. So those are the 3: Lynn, Lecrae, and Flame.
Okay. And if you could eat one dish for the rest of your life, I know this is hard for you. I'm gonna say to everyone.
I'm a food lover. Come on, I'll eat anything and everything.
Mommy is like a garbage truck. He'll just eat anything. He's like me. He doesn't care what it is.
No.
But if you had to eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Wow. One thing that I would eat for the rest of my life. Dude, I don't know, man. I'm thinking,
there's too much.
I wouldn't mind having steak every day, dude, for the rest of my life.
I can see that because I've seen your face when you come home from the store with a couple of steaks.
Oh my gosh.
You look pretty happy, I must say.
That's the happiest you probably ever see me.
This one I've been looking forward to. What is something you think is overrated in the U.S.?
What is something that is overrated in the U.S.? I think in terms of like coming to Africa and, from Africa, I should say, and then coming to the States, I think the idea of freedom is somewhat overrated,
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because only because, my perspective is unique. And of course, everybody else's perspective is unique. But
Yeah.
I say that because, like I mentioned earlier, coming here, I thought everything was free and all that, but it's not.
Yeah.
You have to work and, go to school if that's a path that you want to follow. But working hard and doing all of, the heavy lifting in terms of, situating yourself and being able to not only help yourself, but then also those around you is a big thing. So, yeah, freedom is quote unquote overrated in the States. And even today, like even with, people's opinions and stuff, especially, I don't want to get too political here because that's not what this channel is about.
No, it's okay. It's dependent on the guest.
Someone says, one thing, and then another person may not jive or agree with what they're saying.
Yeah.
And, the idea of, hey, I thought I could just say whatever I want, is quote unquote somewhat overrated without people coming after you, so to say. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty much it for the questions. I just wanted to end by giving you the floor and one story, anything you'd like to share, but specifically any story that you think would really help summarize you coming to America. One in your first year, a story of your first year in the U.S. Of something that really stood out to you.
Let's see. I'm thinking of one right now. I think it was the first time, Donovan, we were in the airport.
Yeah,
I remember coming out of the airport terminal. I saw you for some reason. I don't know why, but for some reason, the first thing I said out of my mouth was, "Do you have a Game Boy?"
And there I am at the airport, like all excited about getting a new brother.
And that was the first thing that came out of my mouth. Do you have a Game Boy? But all to say, in today's, especially here in the U.S., stuff does not, make you happy. Having things here in the now does not make you happy. It's the ability to be able to help others around you in whatever form or way that you're able to do. And so that's, one of the neat things about Edunations is that, we provide schools and all of the needed materials for effective education. And so just being able to be a part of that group and organization is something that is so huge and encouraging to see because we're impacting the lives of not only, the current generation, but hopefully, God willing, the future generation. And as a result, transform, a village and hopefully like a whole nation. And so just to be able to be a part of that initiative and mission I think is awesome. It's awesome because in today's society, I think, especially here in the U.S., we're so focused on, the, brand new car on the lot or whatever, the newest iPhone, whatever that may be. And so it's awesome to be able to be a part of an organization that looks beyond that,
And then everyone's heard your story at this point. They hopefully have a better understanding of some of the needs that are in Sierra Leone and are aware of Edunations and you and the work that you guys are doing. But tell people how they can get involved. How can they help if they feel so inclined that they want to be a part of Edunations and they want to be a part of lifting up the nation of Sierra Leone?
Awesome. Yeah. So we have a our website, edunations.org. It's www.edunations.org. And so on there, we have all of the information that you need in regards to like some of the project that we're working on. If you want to be, a part of that initiative, we also have throughout the year, we have fundraisers that we have. We actually just had a recent one, a virtual one via Facebook and stuff. And that one turned out really, really well this year. More so than we expected. So that's awesome. Yeah. We also have another upcoming fundraiser actually in Pennsylvania, a golf outing. And that's also on our webpage on the, edunations.org. webpage. We also, we're on, Instagram, on Twitter, and of course on Facebook as well. So you can check us out on there. Everything that you need is on there. And also keep in mind, whatever, donations that you might want to take part in, financially, we are an NGO, which is a government, a non-for-profit organization. Essentially, whatever donations that you may, have or give, some of that is tax deductible. And so, for those of you that are interested in helping out in that way, please go check us out on edunations.org.
Well, Mommy, thank you so much for your time this morning.
This is awesome. This was awesome.
It was really, I mean, I love getting to talk to you anytime, but it's even better getting to bring other people into the circle so that they can hopefully hear some of the things you got to say and hear about Edunations. So thank you so much for talking with me this morning, and
Awesome.
hopefully we'll have you on again soon.
Awesome. Sweet. Thanks, Donovan.